Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in this world. Welcome to the Careers. We are so excited to have you here today for this juicy episode, which is going to be hopefully enlightening, informative, and fun. Honestly, Sonia and I have been so committed to really taking our careers and adding a level of fun and joy and lightness to them. So if you are somebody who has felt like you're stuck, you feel like maybe you've been settling in your career, you want something new, or maybe you want a promotion, or maybe you just want to feel better exactly where you are right now, this series is for you. So, well, today's episode is called Rise Up to Your Best Future. And this is for somebody who has been doing things for a certain way for a certain period of time and wants to make some shifts. Maybe doesn't have like a ton of energy or want to make radical shifts overnight, but just wants to start creating and really, as I said, rise up into best future. Because here's the thing too. When we rise up into our careers, it affects every area of our life. There's this notion that here's your career and here's the rest of your life. It's not that way. I think we've all learned by now they're incredibly enmeshed. You cannot go to a career that you don't love, that you don't have joy in, that doesn't energize you, and then have an amazing rest of your life. It actually doesn't work. Your career also needs to lighten up and brighten up and bring joy and fun into your life. So I really want to support you in this episode on how to rise up. I noticed that we use the word rise up. And instead of grind, instead of hustle, and instead of work really hard, these are going to be some really easy things you can start doing literally today. Both Sonia and I, everything we share in these episodes, we've done. Okay, we are our own guinea pigs in such a big way. And the thing about Sonia and I we don't actually quite remember when we first actually had our first conversation and started talking about. I think we crossed paths probably about a year ago right now, Sonia, just over a year ago. And our journey, towards doing this series, our journey of friendship has been so interesting because we realized so much of our lives are parallel. And we've tried so many similar things and gotten similar results. So everything we talk about and everything we teach here really comes from us doing it, trying it, experiencing it, because we got to a place in our life, in our career, where we weren't happy. We didn't like how things were going. And so always this quest for, well, how do you do it differently? And so many people are on this path right now. We're realizing what they're doing isn't working. And it's not giving them the results they want. It's not making them feel like they want to feel. And this what this whole series is about. And certainly this episode is included in that. So if that sounds like something you want to do, you want to rise up to your best future, encourage you, grab a pen and paper, take some notes. And of course, add comments in here, say hi. We'll look at questions at the end, check in to see if there's any questions, and we're happy to answer them. But just sit back and enjoy this. So thank you so much for being here. So I'll quickly introduce myself and I'll hand it over to my lovely co-host, Sonia. My name's Andrea Horvath. If we have asked before, I'm a career transition coach. And I help badass women figure out their soul-aligned career or business, and I help them make that transition. And I just want to share quickly what I've been working on. It's been February was really very busy for me. I've been going on a number of podcasts, which are actually just a ton of fun. I've created a free quiz if anybody's interested. Also, it's to help you determine, do you have what it takes to leave corporate and start your own business? And right now, I'm putting the final touches on a digital course, which I'm totally excited about. It feels like it's been a long time coming. And it's all about how to go from being an employee to a badass business owner, because you cannot run your business like an employee. So if that also is something you're interested in, please feel free to DM me. So Sonia, take it away.
Wonderful. I'm excited about today's episode. Yes. My name is Sonia Miller. If you don't know me, I'm an empowerment coach and energy healing practitioner for professional women. And I am really passionate about helping professional women to accelerate their achieving through the art of receiving. And the reason I love to illuminate this is because if you have goals or dreams that still seem to elude you, no matter how hard you work, what I have found in almost 30 years of coaching is that accomplished women are really good at the hunter skill set, which is all about getting what you want. Unfortunately, that actually keeps us in lack. The things that we want the most are the things that we operate from lack, because it's just like this, all of this attachment. So getting actually keeps you in lack around those things that you want the most, but receiving, instead of being like the hunter, we actually act like the gatherer that knows where the abundance is and simply help themselves to it. So receiving is this incredibly simple skill that most of us are unfamiliar with. And when people learn this skill, this is what blows the lid off the glass ceiling. It just dissolves, and those things that have been eluding you come on in. And it's been wonderful to see those kinds of successes happen in all areas of life, whether it's career, relationships, body stuff. It's just a universal skill, very simple, very powerful. So that's what I'm all about. And I have all kinds of tools that teach how to receive, including the Receive Now program, which I'm excited about because it's finally going to be going onto the new learning management system for easy access, lifetime access year round. So if you're interested in learning more about that, definitely DM me as well. So today's episode, Rise Up to Your Best. Yes.
Can I just mention something here? Because this is something I want to shine a light on you right now for what you're doing next week.
Oh yeah,
I think it's worth celebrating.
That's right. I was going to say that, I forgot. Yeah, so I'm going to be on live TV if you're in Oregon. Thank you, Andrea. In the Oregon area, that's KOIN for Everyday Northwest. And this is for Women's Week. Next week is Women's Week. So I'm going to be talking about that. It'll be a little interview, and you can check in or check the live stream on KOIN Everyday Northwest. So thank you. Yeah, that's a very exciting thing. I got some speaking.
It's huge.
It is huge. I forgot.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay.
I forgot. Okay. So speaking of rising up to your best future, which is one of my things that I've been always oriented towards, I'm really excited that Andrea and I got to bring this to you, because today, whereas in other episodes, we've kind of done more of a broader view of some concepts here. Today, we wanted to do a deep dive, a real deep dive that's like 1 inch wide and 10 million miles deep. Maybe not 10 million in one episode, but it's going to go deep. And it's all about probably the single most important, powerful concept and then set of practices in order to rise up to your best future, especially in this day and age, as Andrea was talking about, is things are changing. We all know that the world has changed. We're in the middle of a transition. And so what used to work doesn't work. And what used to work were those hunter skills, those go out and get it and make plans and do strategies, because there's so much unpredictability. We don't even know how to orient ourselves. It's like our compass is all skewed because we don't even know what true north is anymore. And so we're going to actually help you orient yourself to your true north so that you can rise up to your best future. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about some concepts, and we're also going to go deeper. Andrea will go deeper into how to actually do this. So with that, let's just talk about how to orient yourself, how to really know where your power lies and where it doesn't lie when it comes to rising up to your best future. So the main thing is, it's all about the decisions you make moment by moment, day by day. How do you make your decisions? Do you make your decisions based in what's happening right here, right now? What I call the today you consciousness, which is often either on autopilot or just reacting, or based on the new you consciousness, which is you in the future. You who has a vision, you who has a sense of what they want, even if you don't know exactly what it is. there's a new you, which is what you're moving towards, which is what you're expanding into, or the today you that's just like, as Andrea has said, Groundhog Day, just more of the same, more of the same, more of the same. Okay, this is a term. I love the Groundhog Day analogy because it perfectly addresses that today you consciousness. So I want to talk about why the decisions you make are everything. Okay, why that's important. So first of all, something that we don't really realize is that our decisions come before our actions. Our decisions come before our actions. And another way of looking at this is understanding that your power lies in consciousness, not in controlling conditions in order to get what you want. Your power lies in consciousness, not in control. But when we are operating sort of unconscious about the future, and when we are just reacting to our day-to-days, either because things are coming at us and we don't have time to think, or we're just on autopilot and do what we get up in the morning, we have our morning routine, we jump into work and we take care of the kids, or we check into the news. I mean, there's just so much autopilot that can happen. And that's what actually keeps you in today versus your vision of the future. Okay. So decisions come first. And another way of thinking about that is that your action, what most of us do is we think our power lies in our actions. That's a very common default setting. And it's nobody's fault, and it's not a flaw. It's just that we learn to get ahead by taking lots of action, right? And very few of us have actually learned that our actions, I like to say, are a delivery mechanism for your consciousness. Your consciousness, which is this, and this is much deeper than mindset. That's a very important thing to understand. Consciousness, a lot of us have heard about mindset, but working in consciousness is everything that's happening in your inner world. It isn't just what you think about or what you focus on. It's how you feel. Do you feel heavy? Do you feel light? Do you feel scared? Do you feel joyful or safe? How you feel is so important. And yet for most of us, when we're in hunter mode or action mode, we actually have learned that our feelings, our experiences, our bodies, which by the way, is why there's so much dis-ease and illness, is because there's a disconnect from how we feel. We kind of push our bodies away or try to control them or whip them into shape rather than having a relationship with our bodies. Our bodies and our feelings are essential to connecting with who you want to be in the future. How do you want to feel in the future, right? Do you want to feel fulfilled, or do you want to feel like a machine that just keeps showing up and making another dollar, right? We can be successful, but not necessarily fulfilled. So the most important piece around the decisions you make is reorienting yourself to how you make your decisions. Are you scanning the news, the economic reports, the political climate? Are you scanning the outside world to try to orient yourself to how you're going to make decisions? Or do you start to explore, which for some of you may be a new concept, how to turn within and access this wellspring, this clarity, this internal navigational system that allows you to connect with your future, your vision, who you want to be. So I think to set the groundwork for this, I just want to offer is that we operate from two states of consciousness at any given time, two states. Either the today you that's responding to whatever is happening today in your home, in your body, in the future, in the external world, or the new you consciousness who connects with how you want to feel, what you want to create, what inspires you, what's your vision, right? And when you start to get really clear about the distinction between the two, then you can make decisions and choices to do this. So I'm going to tell a little story, a little example to make this a little bit more concrete. So when I was in the brokerage industry, I realized pretty quickly that wasn't the environment for me. I landed there because I thought it's what I was supposed to. I was very externally oriented. My parents told me what to do. Society told me what to do. You need to get a financially secure job. This is the only thing that made sense to me because I didn't know how to have a financially secure job. So I got into the brokerage industry. I had a business degree. And after I got over the hump of thinking I had to prove myself to feel valuable, I started getting curious. And so by day, I would trade stocks and bonds. And in the evenings and the weekends, I would go be a hippie chick and go to the Healers Resource Center and learn all about crystals and consciousness and metaphysical stuff and mystical stuff. And my mentor, my beloved mentor, Chester, I tell him all about this because we were sit by side at the desk all day long. And he just like, you are such a flower child, right? You are such a flower child. However, those decisions to actually do something that brought me joy, even in the midst of, yeah, I had to be responsible, pay the bills, just bringing joy and curiosity about what do I want versus what do I think I should do, is what was the beginning steps to me now being an empowerment coach and serving accomplished women and helping them identify the tools that they generally don't find in traditional business or corporate settings. This is why it's like I was in the inside, then I went to the outside, and now we're bringing them back into the inside of this world of career fulfillment. Additionally, another kind of general story that I do with all my clients is we really work on literally a 180-degree reverse in their priorities. So let's say you're in a car and you've got the foot on the gas and you want to move forward, but all of a sudden you realize, oh, I've actually got it in reverse. I'm pointing this way, but I need to turn around, right, to see where I'm going. We need to do the same with being skills and doing skills. We need to understand that all of the doing that we're doing is not going to lead us to our best future if we don't actually prioritize being first. Rising up for your best future is about stopping the doing and then connecting first within. And it's like, I know I'm full of analogies, but that's the way my brain works. So it's like this, all right? If you want to rise up to your best future, you have to fuel your future first. And what most of us do, it's like we stand in front of a fireplace and we say, give me fire, give me fire, give me fire. You have to actually put the wood in first to get the fire. You have to put the fuel and the energy of your awareness and your decisions and your consciousness into your future first. And then that's you rising up, showing up for your future. And then the actions come from that. The actions that lead you to your future come from that. So that's the foundation that I wanted to start with. So Andrea, how about you? What's standing out for you before you go into the house?
Besides the hippie chick part?
What was that?
I said besides the hippie chick part?
Yeah, the hippie chick, yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay. No, and I think it's such a great point. It's like start where you are. Still got bills to pay. Still over here doing this thing, except you're like, I'm spending my free time doing other things that are moving me towards something different, which I think is beautiful. You know, there's this model that I've actually come across lately that is stuck out in my head. And why I love it, and I don't know who it's come from, okay? It's not mine. It's very simple. I don't know if anybody can really claim it because it's so basic, but it's be, do, have, okay? Like your being, right? Then flows right into your doing, and then because you want to have something, right? And most people focus 90% of their energy is on the doing so they can have. And
Yes.
That's how we've been taught, right? That is what so many of us are going, I'm so tired of this doing, constant doing, right? So to your point about the being, that act needs to be more the 80%, which leads into a lot less actions, right? Like required because you're so clear on what you're doing. And then when you get to the having usually ends up better than you actually hope for. It's got a touch to it too, right? However, that's kind of going off into a whole different tangent, but it just reminded me of this model where we've just got the focus just all on the doing. And it really is going back to that being. So, everything you said was beautiful, amazing. And I think that the key to this really is, like you said, to get off this Groundhog Day is we stay in that Groundhog Day, as you said, if we keep making decisions on autopilot, which I think is one that's really, really huge. It is very, very easy, especially when we're so also busy, is to not even think about what we're doing. We're just completely going in circles and circles and circles. And it's, we feel stuck. I always think that's so interesting when we say we feel stuck, because we're not actually stuck. What we're actually doing is making the same decisions over and over and over again. Energy is always moving. We are continuously moving. So if you feel stuck right now and you're watching this, you're like, I'm kind of sick of where I am right now, right? It's because you're making the same decisions over and over again. So those were, I mean, you explained this beautifully, Sonia. I don't feel like I needed to add any more than that, or just maybe emphasize those things besides the hippie chick part. So if you're good, unless you wanted to add something, I can move on to, okay, so like, what does this mean? How do we do this?
Yeah.
I good if I move on, or?
Yeah, just one really quickie is just that
Yeah.
whole thing about when you prioritize being first over doing, which, like you said, most of us think we don't have time. It's never about time. It's about priority. But when we don't know the value and the importance of this, then we think it's about time. When my clients, as I know you do know this too, make being first and then just get curious about what to do with that being time, the doing becomes so much easier. It's just a priority shift.
Yeah, so much easier. It's
Yeah.
so interesting. So anybody who's worked with Sonia or followed us or, connected with us, I mean, Sonia is an energy healer, but I have been tapped into energy for a very long time. And I tap into the collective, and it's so interesting. Sonia and I have talked about this and connect other people who are really tapped in with energy. One of the messages we're all getting is everyone needs just to lean right out now. So this is just like, as you were talking, that came through. I mean, I am spending more time going out in nature. I am spending more, meditation is my thing, so I'm doing it. So right now, it's like the perfect time. I'm giving you permission if you need it. Don't need it. But that message has been coming in so loud and clear. Take the time to be. Take the time to tap into you and spend the time reflecting and doing whatever that means for you. It's so important now, because we're in this place of change right now. I mean, the planet's changing, everything's changing right now, and we all can sense it, we all can feel it. And the best thing we can do right now is spend the time connecting and get off that hamster wheel, really. So just wanted to share that quickly. So, okay, how to do this. And, I want to say, before I dive into this, and Sonia and I both have stories behind this, like, you wouldn't even recognize me if you met me 20 years ago. There's nothing about my life, or, probably parts of me, but I was a people pleaser. I was, I don't even know how to describe myself, timid. I was painfully shy in my 20s, like, in my teenage years, like, painfully shy. And I'm 5'10". So being shy and tall is not a great combination. Like, I like, you wouldn't even recognize me. And, when Sonia and I were talking about this episode, it's like, well, this is what I did. Like, when I look at myself back then, this is what I did. And it's like one thing I talked about. It's actually looking at your future. But what does this really look like tangibly, right? So what I want to say is, I've walked this path, and this is what I did. And I know Sonia's walked this path too, right? This is all, again, we're our own guinea pigs. So how do we do that? There's a few things you can directly do right away to start to shift, to create that best future, or to really rise up into it. And the first thing you can do, and it takes, again, taking that space, stepping back and reflecting, but think about, what do you want your future like? And what I know from working with all the clients I have one-on-one, when I say that, a lot of people go into they have to come up with some sort of exact, tangible thing. I want my future in 5 years. I want to be an XYZ job, and I want to be living here, and I want this, and I want this, and I want. That's not what this is about. We go directly into the what. When I say think about what you want your future to be like, think about how do you want to feel in your future? How do you want to experience your life? What kinds of experiences do you want? So, one thing I hear from so many women is they want more connection. They want more connection specifically in their careers. So, are you making decisions right now in your career that lend you towards more connection? Or is it taking you away from it? And start to really reflect on how you are functioning, because every single decision, this is really how it works. I think a lot of times when we think of change, we go into overwhelm. Well, I know we do this because we think it has to be this massive step, like this massive, huge change in our life. And it feels scary and our nervous system goes into overdrive and we don't take steps. What we're talking about here is, how do I want to feel? And then what can I literally do today to take one little micro step? That's all it needs to be. I mean, we've talked about this actually in prior episodes, Sonia. I actually remember this now. Like, it's about these steps. Yes, there are always points in our lives where we have to take leaps. If we want to make change, whether that means moving or quitting jobs or whatever it looks like, there are often times when we do take. However, preceding that was a number of micro steps. And what happens is every single step and every single decision, like we talked about, either leads you to what you want or what you don't want. So as you're going out through the day, it's really about becoming conscious, again, getting off that autopilot. So, say an instance where you're at work and they require you to work a lot of overtime and it's not what you want. God, I'm doing this again. Like, I've been doing overtime for years now. I'm exhausted. And of course, you're looking in the outside world. You're looking at LinkedIn and you're seeing people letting go. We do that, right? We assess the outside world. Interest rates are high. Inflation's still high. And so what do? We end up continuing to put in all these extra hours, typically because of fear. We don't want to lose our job. And we think to ourselves, well, if they're going to let someone go, it's going to be the person who's not actually putting in enough hours. But at some point you have to stop and think to yourself, well, is this even what I want? Like, is keeping this job, and it's not always that dire situation either, right? Or that challenging of a result. But questioning, is working excessive overtime leading you towards a future that you want? And just ask yourself that question. And if the answer is no, then it might make, there might be a decision at that moment of just having a conversation with somebody. I actually was coaching a client on this yesterday about boundaries as she's building her business. Is sometimes it requires to have that conversation. So then as soon as you do that, it's a micro change and it might not feel like a lot. What you've really done, so instead of going down a path you didn't want to be going down, you've now just done this and you started the path. And no, it might not be up to here to where you want it, but it's very rare, extremely rare. We can go from here in our lives to here in one step, one decision, two decisions. It's every single micro decision. So ask yourself, like, how do you want to feel? Do you want more freedom? Do you want more joy? Do you want, like I said, more connection? Do you want to collaborate more? It's all different ways to look at it, but it's really looking at the essence of how you want your life to be. The what and the how starts to show up, but it doesn't show up if you're just staying here not taking steps. The what and the how shows up each step you take. You get clarity from taking action. And that is one thing. That is one of the biggest lessons I've learned in my life that I think is so simple, yet is often overlooked. We cannot know the whole picture, but we want to. You want to have that control, right? But it literally is taking steps. And the more steps you take, closer to what you want to experience, the world just like opens up and you start to see things and you start to get crystal clear on more of what you want, but you cannot see all of that from staying exactly where you are. So Sonia, do you want to add to something to that?
Oh, that was all so good. And all of these little inspirations sparking when you were talking. I think the thing I'd love to add is this idea of rising up to your best future. Another way to look at it is your future is now, but we tend to operate for as if your future is out in the distance. So when you start to take actions that allow you to start feeling the way you want to feel right now, your consciousness is, I feel the way I want to feel right now. And then life, because that's how creation happens, will give you more of what feels the way you want to feel right now. And so the now factor of taking action that's aligned with your future is incredibly powerful. That's exactly what I did in the brokerage industry. Is I wanted to feel happy and joyful and curious and interested in the things that I was doing every day, and it really wasn't happening in the brokerage firm. So I went towards what made me feel happy and curious and fulfilled in the future. The other thing that and I started doing it right now. The other thing to just really put a finer point on why asking how do I want to feel is so much more important than what's the thing I want, what are those physical world outcomes, is I always like to say is you don't achieve fulfilled, you feel fulfilled. You know you're fulfilled because you feel it. You know you've achieved something when you can see it, or you can shine it put it on the wall, or ta-da. But what we're missing when we're just like not happy in our jobs is a feeling of fulfillment. So we need to feel the way we want to feel in order to create more of that. And so decisions that align you with the essence or the feeling versus the form or the thing is where you start to rise up to your future being right here, right now, which then draws it in, as Andrea said, step by step. So that's what I wanted to add.
That's awesome. And you know what? I remember advice I got many years ago from my spiritual mentor. He said, you always get to choose how you feel. And it stuck with me. In every now moment, we get to choose how we feel. And again, some of these concepts are so simple, not necessarily easy, especially if you're exhausted or whatever. But it's about taking that step back and just like tapping into yourself and going, like, how do I want to feel right now? And is that action that I've been doing up till now, is that supporting me in that desire to feel that way? Yes or no? And as I've been saying, I feel like I'm beating this message in because it's so important. We've got to really start owning our yeses and our nos in such a deep level. We've got to stop saying yes when we mean no. Because all it's doing is it's sending out a message. This is what I want. Every time we say yes to something, we say, I want more of this. So if you're saying yes to what you don't want, and whatever reason, because there's always reasons why we do it, right? There's always reasons. We've got to look at those reasons. And are they valid? Are they actually valid?
Yeah.
Think about, what are you saying yes to? All your decisions. Because what the universe does energetically, it's all energy. It goes, she or he wants more of that. Here you go. Here you go. So you start making decisions towards your joy or fulfillment or whatever it might look like. The universe goes, here you go. And of course, being open to receive it, right? Big part of that. But that is how you rise. Like that's really the rise part. You do your part, but the universe comes in kind. It's going to match you, right? And that's the beautiful part. So we don't have to work so hard. Because what I see people are doing, this is really, to be blunt here, is we're saying yes when we mean no. And we keep saying yes, and we're doing all these things we don't want to do. And again, there's reasons why we do it. However, we're doing all those things we don't want to be doing. And we're going, well, why am I not getting the future that I want? Why isn't it coming? because the universe is bringing you more of what you don't want because you keep saying yes to it. That is how much power we have. But we've got to do our part so the universe can pour into us, because this is what I know. The universe wants, and I have goosebumps as I say this, so I know this is the truth. The universe wants to pour into us. The universe wants to pour into us. It's like this again, this is another message that's been coming through, and Sonia, you and I have talked about this, where, there leaps are possible forward, like really energetically speaking right now. And it's like there's this door, almost like there's this door that's right there right now. The universe is saying, open the door. Like, you're standing behind this door. Open it and walk through it. I've got all these things for you, but you need to take that step forward. And how do you do that? Every decision you make, is it taking me towards what I want or not? So that's the first sort of strategy about how do you want to feel. So the second thing, go ahead. Yes. Yeah, please do.
Yeah. I just felt like I could hear people listening to this with a yeah, but, because I see this so much. It's so important to understand that this is, again, not about mind control or mindset when it comes to our feelings. It's about training our awareness, right? So yes, we choose how we feel, and we always have that power. And it's just as important to apply that to how we feel about ourselves. Because if you can't connect with how you want to feel, that might feel good because you're depressed, angry, afraid, whatever's happening for you, then you get to choose how you feel about those feelings, which is, can you bring kindness and soothing, right? Versus, do you beat yourself up because you think you're supposed to feel excited? Yeah. Okay. Just like you were saying that the universe, it's right there and abundant. I always like to say the universe always offers kindness. Even in the darkest, scariest of times, there's always kindness there to meet you where you're at. Can you receive it? We receive it by choosing kindness with ourselves wherever we're at. That's what life's always offering, kindness, but we have to show the universe. It will match us. What you say, in kind. I love that. We'll meet you in kind, in relationship to yourself and this journey as well.
Beautiful, beautiful. I had a thought, but it flew away, so maybe it'll come back later. But no, the word, actually, it was a word that flew into my mind, is grace.
Yeah.
Have grace with yourself. That is something I often tell my clients who are going through this, and going through changes, right? Is have grace with yourself through all of this. We can be really hard on ourselves. It doesn't work. It doesn't actually get you anywhere. No. I mean, I know I've been guilty of it. I mean, this is, and I still am at times, right? I'm much better at catching myself. Just some grace about it, right? So the next thing to think about is, like, who do you want to be? I think that's really something. There's a lot of power in who do you want to be? Like, what kind of person do you want to be? And what I have noticed is we often have an image in our head of who we are. And over time, what often happens is we actually deviate. And so we still have this almost a skewed perception of who we are. Like, do an assessment, like an honest assessment of, like, how are you right now, and how do you want to be? What do you want to be like? What qualities and traits? This is something I do absolutely with all my clients, because here's the thing: if somebody's making a career change or starting a business, they've got to change their identity somehow. Like, we really have to look at our identity. And so think about, how do you want to be, and how would a person like that make decisions in their life? And what you have to do is start making decisions right now as that person. I remember years, and this is probably 15 years ago, I thought, I'll change as a person when I get blah, blah, blah. And it's completely backwards. You have to change who you are right now and act as if. So if you want to feel like an empowered person, how would an empowered person wake up in the morning? What would they eat? Like literally, how would they eat? Would they eat a bowl of sugary cereal? I don't know if anybody does that anymore, but there must be some. Or would they be eating a healthy breakfast? Would they be taking care of themselves? Would they be standing up for themselves? Would they be only saying yes when they really mean a yes? And it's starting to look at how to shift your life in all those moments. And an exercise that I think is really powerful. If you're not really kind of sure, you're sitting there, you're going, well, I don't really know like who I really want to be, or I'm confused. Look around you. Who do you admire? It could be somebody that's well known, or it could be just somebody and dig a little deeper. What is it about that person that you admire? And I can guarantee you there's gold there of how you want to start to be in your own life. And you can start doing that literally today. Like it's that easy. Again, remember, it's just the small decisions. You don't have to completely revamp your life overnight. And that can be really tough too, because if you try to do that, we often give up because it's just like too much. We go into overwhelm. Start into those steps, right? So think about, who do you admire?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, there's very little I think I could add. I just like really, I love, it's like you said, act as if. Another one is fake it till you make it, and so I've actually played that game of, I don't know if anyone's heard of this, but when I get up in the morning, once I get really clear about who that version of me is, it's almost like a suit that you zip up, right? You put on that suit, who would I be? What would I say? What would I think? What would I do if I was already living that life? If I was already that version, the today the new you, if I was already the new me in that life, what decisions would I be making? So, and that again brings it right back to that now consciousness.
I love that. Like, what if? I think that's a really important question. Like, what if? Because to me, that just opens doors and opens possibilities. Like, a lot of our imagination goes into worrying.
Yes.
It takes the same amount of energy, probably less actually, to imagine amazing possibilities. Because that's all worry is your imagination. We'll just use it constructively. Use it to actually help you move forward, right? And it's really powerful. So I love that, Sonia. Just zip your suit up. I'm going to see me tomorrow morning doing that. Now that you told me this. And so the third,
can I just throw in one more just to make it a little more tangible? We all can do, it's so actually easy to do that. And think about a situation where you really felt in your power. This is for everyone to try this on for size. Think about a situation where you really felt in your power, and who were you being? And then think of a situation where you felt disempowered, and who you're being. And to help you connect with that, I have a client who was exploring, in terms of her rising up to her future and who she wanted to be. We went back to a situation where she was dealing with similar things, and she was basically dealing with a board. She was dealing with an entire board. And for her, she's made the distinction between her inner little girl and her goddess self. And it's more of an archetype, but basically she has the experience of being a total goddess at times in her life. And she has other experiences of being a little girl. And when she saw that she's been both with that same board, she realized there was nothing different about the board or the company or anything that was going on out there. It was the identity she was claiming. So I just wanted to offer that example so people can play with this with themselves. We do it all the time. It's just being more intentional about it.
Totally. And I love that example. And I mean, I know the goddess energy always resonates with me too, but it's very true. If you go back in your history, I think that's so powerful because it reinforces I can actually do this. There's examples. I have concrete proof that I have done this before, which damn well means I can do it again as many times as I want, and choosing it in that moment. And I think in moments like that, it is just that moment of, instead of just like saying rushing into a meeting, like instead of just rushing from your Zoom call to like a meeting, take a moment. take a couple breaths and going, who am I showing up as?
Right. Shift into being versus just doing the next thing.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna throw this at you. The statement that I love that you say so much about your presence. Can you finish that one off?
Yes, your presence is more powerful than your productivity.
Awesome. I couldn't
Absolutely.
say it. I had to let you say it.
Thank you.
So the third thing we just wanted to bring up, and it's okay, it's 15 minutes. We're still good on time. So the third way you can really start to shift how you make decisions to rise up. And again, this feels simple, but powerful is, what are your core values? What are your values? What I know and is from working not only my only shift in life, but working with women in parts of their life and their career where they're not happy. And this is always across the board. This is never not true, as they are not living a life in alignment with their values. And what happens is when you live out of alignment and you make decisions that do not honor your values, it creates an inner turmoil. You will constantly feel this sense of like distress and just unsettled anxiety because your soul is trying to say to you, like, girl or guy or whatever, excuse me, like, hello, I'm here. I'm here. There's things that you are not honoring. And it's really a form of like abandoning yourself. To be really blunt, it is a form of self-abandonment. And that will never create peace and harmony. Like you'll just never, it doesn't matter what results you get, you can achieve. And this is what happens is we've been told in this society that it's all about the outcome, right? It's that be do have, like you do all the doing so you can have, and the have is the goal. Well, so many people have gotten the have. They've got
Right.
all the haves, and yet they're not happy. It's because nowhere in there were they worrying about the being, and chances are they were not honoring their core values. And this is something in my life that I, for the last 20 years, I have not been willing to compromise. And, I have made what some people might consider very difficult decisions or courageous decisions. I mean, before I did get fired in corporate, but there were a number of times when I thought I was going to be fired because I was a CPA. And there are times when companies want you to do things that aren't so ethical. And integrity is my number one value. And I always stood in my integrity. And people will say, like, how did you do that? Like, I'm a single parent, I don't have a backup. There's no backup anywhere. And how do you do it? And it's one of the easiest things. It is one of the easiest things to do when you start doing it. The consequences can sometimes be challenging to deal with, but your your ability to have inner peace and harmony, that being, because what you're doing there is, again, you're really cultivating that being and you're honoring yourself. And every time you do that, you do move towards a life that you want and really away from what you don't want. And in my experience, making those steps and this step alone can massively up level. Like just your life can rise up in ways you can't even imagine. I mean, one of the other biggest changes I made in my life, this is not related to career, but I absolutely value kindness. Like kindness is huge. Like I love kind people, like truly. I don't have a kind family. They're not
Mm.
kind at all. They're actually quite toxic and dysfunctional. I separated from my family years ago. And, being a single parent, I've heard like, how do you do that? Or like, how could you not, have a relationship with your mother and all this easily? Like it's tough in some ways, but the deep honoring I have for myself, I don't want to be around people who are unkind. And I mean, these are big things. And this is why I said, like, this is a huge one for me because my values are just that important. However, I do believe we live in a world right now where we're not lining up with our values. We're just, again, you talked about the very beginning, which was the perfect foundation. We just keep looking out here and going, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? And then we just respond, and we're not connecting and going, does this feel good for me? Does this honor me? Does this honor who I am and what I believe truly at my core? Because your values, like, they're part of you. They aren't just something you kind of pick out of the air. And I think that's one thing we don't really realize is they're not random. They usually come about for a reason. And there's usually something in your history that led you to them. I mean, I was raised in around unkindness or, at times kind of cruelty. And of course, then one of my values is kindness. Like, it often comes about because of your life experiences. It's your soul's way of telling you this is important to you. Honor it.
Mm-hmm.
And each little step we can take towards honoring it, we come more into ourselves, more into our being, and our whole life again, continues to rise.
Yeah. Ooh, I'm surprised at what's come up for me when you were talking. It's kind of vulnerable, but I think it's a really important conversation about values. I know for me, one thing I really want to add is it takes courage to live in alignment with your values, because I've never thought about this until you were talking, Andrea, but I think that if we're conscious and intentional people and we want our best future, we want to rise up to our best future. If we're compromising our values, I'm going to have to think more on this, but what's coming to mind is there's basically two reasons. We're either unconscious about something or we're afraid. And I had a flashback of one of the times that I really learned the importance of living in alignment with my values. And I had been in survival mode because I'd gone through back-to-back adversity and challenge and found myself very head-spinningly fast, a single mom, 2 kids, and running my business. And in the process, I made a decision, talk about making decisions that are either autopilot or reactive, that was based on panic and fear. So this, for me, I went against my values because I was unconscious. I didn't even know that I was doing it. And I actually hurt somebody that I loved. We've done the repair work since then. But what that taught me was and so my value was integrity. This was my value. And so I violated my own value of integrity. And when I did that, and I hurt someone I loved, and it took 4 years to begin repairing that relationship. In the process of realizing, when I asked myself, why did I do that? It's because I didn't believe in life's kindness. I didn't believe that there was going to be support for me. I was in survival mode. And that is one of the things that talk about, as painful as that journey was, it quantum leapt me to a whole new level of really understanding how life always offers kindness, how if I stand for my values, how to stay open to the abundance that is right here, right now. This is why I personally am so passionate about teaching these concepts, because as Andrea said, we've been through the fire. We don't teach from theory or hypothetical concepts. We've been there. We've tested it on ourselves. We've tested it out with our clients. It works. And sometimes we need some guidance through it because we're navigating, some foreign terrain. But at least you're getting the principles. The more you can even just begin to ask yourself, what are my values? Because here's the thing. Yes, it can take courage and be difficult sometimes to stand for our values and make decisions, but it's just as painful, if not more painful, to violate those values. You will never reach fulfillment if you are selling yourself out. It's mathematically impossible. So there's no avoiding pain. You get to just choose, will one allow me to move towards fulfillment, or will I keep getting Groundhog Day and feeling stuck, but just creating the same dynamic where basically we're disconnecting from our heart and soul and a part of ourselves.
Sonia, I don't know if you can tell, like, I'm almost in tears listening to you because you nailed it and I didn't have any clue this conversation was going to go here today,
Yeah,
which
me
is
neither.
beautiful, honestly. Because what I shared was quite vulnerable too. Exactly what you said. Trust. It's like this massive level of trust that you will be taken care of. And what I know through my personal experiences is, I mean, I can't say it's going to happen to everybody, but I have never regretted choosing myself, my own personal values at any time. There's never been even an ounce of regret. And I think, and I can say that now looking back on some pretty big leaps I've taken, like leaving my marriage when I didn't have a job, selling my house when I didn't have a job. Like there's been a number of times where I've done this in my life. And yes, deep levels of trust. And then when you see it happen, so the beautiful part is, and then you start to trust life back and you go, okay, because again, it's that rise up. I've said to the universe, I trust you to support me. This is a big freaking leap of faith I'm taking, right?
Yeah.
And then and there is a soft place to land, and maybe a few bumps along the way. And yeah, you do get support. I've done that the whole time. However, and then the universe goes, oh, we've got this relationship, we're connecting. Okay, I'm going to help you now. I'm going to open some doors for you. And that's literally what happens.
Yeah.
And it may not be the doors you thought would open and the way you thought it would open, but it's usually better. I find we have this view of how we think things should go, right? One of the great things I learned is when you're thinking about what you want, always say that or something better. Because when we focus on we want a certain outcome, like if I'm going to do my values, it's going to go this way, right? That's control. That's a lot of control. And then we're attached to the outcome. But it's going, okay, I'm going to do this. And this is how I want it to go. But universe, that or something better.
Yes.
And we allow it to the universe to do its part.
Yeah.
It's the receiving, it's the being, it's the space in there where we're not trying to control and do so we can get what we want to have. We do get what we want, but we don't have as much control. There needs to be a level of trust and faith. And of course, as you said, always receiving. So any last words?
I think I'm empty now.
I think so too. Anybody have any questions or any comments? I mean, also please feel free to DM us or post afterwards. I'll come back in here and take a look at the comments later. Thank you so much for joining us. Our next episode is actually March the 20th. I think that's 3 weeks from now. And it's going to be called Joy, the Secret to Career Breakthroughs, which is, again, another one that, again, new paradigm. It's this whole being, at another level. And we'd love for you to join us. So we will see you then. Take care.